God. Giving me the strength and the wisdom. God, protect me on my journey. I'm getting closer to my destination. How can it be? Such a beautiful life on earth, so pleasant for me. It's hard to see any further in the future. Some of these species they creep up from behind and shoot ya. Life's harder than it's ever been. Cracked my heart when I found that I couldn't trust a friend. Set me up like he really didn't give a fuck. Burned himself like I do my lesson with button. What the fuck? Put the payback down like James Brown. Experience a smiling face. Numbers come to frown. Destruction is just hit your town. And things will never be the same. Why do we act so untamed? Yeah. Wars on guns, I'm a woman. Thank you, God. Giving me the strength and wisdom to be thankful right now. Guide me. Another season, a gas squeezing, burying close relatives, due to treason and host season. Without reason, or intent to try to get prepared. We got our own parents walking around the streets scared to get involved in our activities, living their life in misery, cutting out our possibilities to advance to the so-called right track. This world is like Sodom and Gomorrah, so don't look back. Men becoming lovers of men and of money. Kids getting killed like it ain't funny. Or am I tripping? It's like this whole world need a whipping. The devil's on the move and we slipping. Should I take it from the top? Life deeper than just hip hop. Smoking blunts, tossing the hoes and running from the cops. Let me sprinkle you a little bit. Rap to you no taste, base our backs in the streets in the 90s is a disgrace. Who got our blacks walking the street at night like cats, prone to pulling on pipes? Ending life of daily tax, embezzlement, and everyday thing like punishment. Or stick us fizzy trees, them as the vipers with kids, ring the alarm. Ring the alarm. Ring the alarm. Ring the alarm. Yeah. Thanking you right now. I go outside to peep out today's skies. Approached by wise guys with killers, nigga, in their eyes. Wearing a set of Cisco with silver satin links runner. Some of your Rolex that needed to be fixed. Looking mean, patting the pockets on my jeans. I'm being harassed by fiends, living pipe dreams. When they attack a black for the crack, it's a fact their mind is gone and they don't know how to act.
When do it stop? When do it all end? I want the world coming to her when you can't trust a friend.
Stop!
When do it all end? I want the world coming to her when you can't trust a friend.
If only we could examine the debris from the World Trade Center and figure out what happened. Unfortunately, Mayor Giuliani began shipping the remains off to recycling yards overseas before investigators could even examine it. Not even FEMA was allowed into Ground Zero. Essentially, they blocked off a crime scene and destroyed all the evidence.
Since the inception of the Federal Reserve in 1913, a number of large and small wars have commenced. The three most pronounced were World War I, World War II, and Vietnam. World War I. In 1914, European wars broke out centered around England and Germany. The American public wanted nothing to do with the war. In turn, President Woodrow Wilson publicly declared neutrality. However, under the surface, the U.S. administration was looking for any excuse it could find to enter it. In a noted observation by Secretary of State William Jennings, the large banking interests were deeply interested in the World War because of the wide opportunities for large profits. It's important to understand that the most lucrative thing that can happen for the international bankers is war, for it forces the country to borrow even more money from the Federal Reserve Bank at interest. Woodrow Wilson's top advisor and mentor was Colonel Edward House, a man with intimate connections with the international bankers who wanted in the war. In a documented conversation between Colonel House, Wilson's advisor, and Sir Edward Grey, the Foreign Secretary of England, regarding how to get America into the war, Grey inquired, "What will Americans do if Germans sink an ocean liner with American passengers on board?" House responded, "I believe that a flame of indignation would sweep the United States, and that by itself would be sufficient to carry us into war." So, on May 7, 1915, on essentially the suggestion of Sir Edward Grey, a ship called the Lusitania was deliberately sent into German-controlled waters, where German military vessels were known to be. And, as expected, German U-boats torpedoed the ship, exploding stored ammunition, killing 1,200 people. To further understand the deliberate nature of this setup, the German embassy actually put advertisements in the New York Times telling people that if they boarded the Lusitania, they did so at their own risk, as such a ship sailing from America to England through the war zone would be liable to destruction. In turn, and as anticipated, the sinking of the Lusitania caused a wave of anger among the American population, and America entered the war a short time after. The First World War caused 323,000 American deaths. J.D. Rockefeller made $200 million off of it. Not to mention the war cost about $30 billion for America, most of which was borrowed from the Federal Reserve Bank at interest, furthering the profits of the international bankers. World War II. On December 7, 1941, Japan attacked the American fleet at Pearl Harbor, triggering our entry into that war. President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared the attack was a day that will live in infamy. A day of infamy indeed, but not because of the alleged surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. After 60 years of surfacing information, it is clear that not only was the attack on Pearl Harbor known weeks in advance, it was outright wanted and provoked. Roosevelt, whose family had been New York bankers since the 18th century, whose uncle Frederick was on the original Federal Reserve Board, was very sympathetic to the interests of the international bankers, and the interest was to enter the war, as we've seen, nothing is more profitable for international bankers than war. In a journal entry by Roosevelt's Secretary of War Henry Stimson, dated November 25, 1941, he documented a conversation he had with Roosevelt. The question was, how should we maneuver them into firing the first shot? It was desirable to make sure the Japanese be the ones to do this, so that there should remain no doubt as to who were the aggressors. In the months leading up to the attack on Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt had done almost everything in his power to anger the Japanese, showing a posture of aggression. He halted all of Japan's imports of American petroleum. He froze all the Japanese assets in the United States. He made public loans to nationalist China and supplied military aid to the British, both enemies of Japan in the war, which, by the way, is completely in violation of international war rules. And on December 4th, 3 days before the attack, Australian intelligence told Roosevelt about a Japanese task force moving towards Pearl Harbor. Roosevelt ignored it. So, as hoped and allowed, on December 7th, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, killing 2,400 soldiers. Before Pearl Harbor, 83% of the American public wanted nothing to do with the war. After Pearl Harbor, 1 million men volunteered for the war. It is important to note, Nazi Germany's war effort was largely supported by two organizations, one of which was called IG Farben. IG Farben produced 84% of Germany's explosives, and even the Zyklon B used in the concentration camps to kill millions. One of the unspoken partners of IG Farben was J.D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil Company in America. In fact, the German Air Force could not operate without a special additive patented by Rockefeller Standard Oil. The drastic bombing of London by Nazi Germany, for example, was made possible by a $20 million sale of fuel to IG Farben by the Rockefeller Standard Oil Company. This is just one small point on the topic of how American business funded both sides of World War II. One other treasonous organization worth mentioning is the Union Banking Corporation of New York City. Not only did it finance numerous aspects of Hitler's rise to power, along with actual materials during the war, it was also a Nazi money laundering bank, which was eventually exposed for having millions of dollars of Nazi money in its vaults. The Union Banking Corporation of New York was eventually seized for violations of the Trading with the Enemy Act. Guess who the director and vice president of the Union Bank was? Prescott Bush. our current president's grandfather, and of course our former president's father. Keep that in mind when considering the moral and political dispositions of the Bush family.
OFTBmusic.com, you're going to be able to really holler at us, and we're going to be giving you hood news as well as worldwide news, because we're going to be connected everywhere. We're going to be Twittering you here, Facebooking you there. We're going to be doing it all in the midst of still being in community, being community activists and, you know, saving our people, making sure our kids get to school and handle their business and doing things the right way. We starting businesses, we opening up jobs, and we educating people, man, on life, on the music industry, and just on the world. So that's why I feel like y'all should be supporting OFTB instead of all that other bullshit y'all supporting that ain't gonna really do nothing. Because at the end of the day, when you really need something, you're gonna run straight back to the bottom talking about we're flipping low at, because it's a long fall from the top. But the bottom, it's easy to fall from the bottom. You're gonna get right back up. It ain't nothing but to dust yourself off as a few bruises. But you fall from the top, you're gonna bust your motherfucking head and kill yourself.
That's real spit. Y'all heard it from the Lone Be the Boss speaking, nigga. You talking to the flip side, nigga. Right now, you talking to the OFTB, Lone B. We keeping it raw and real, man. You know what I'm saying? We gonna start. We know we gonna call this shit from now on.
What we gonna call it?
Come to the bottom and get the real, nigga. TV. Bottom TV. This is what this shit gonna be called. You know what I mean? We got my boy Disaster Era in the area, always in the area. He been putting it down with us for a long time. He was a part of the Flat Broke family. He also got things going on right now, you know, with his career. He didn't shit drop more albums than me. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that, because we sitting back calculating a whole new strategy on the game. Our strategy on the game is a little different from other people's approach right now. We already know that the biggest thing in the industry right now to them is distribution. Being able to get 1 million people to say, oh, I'm buying that. You get 1 million people to say, I'm buying that. That means you got power. You moving and you got money. That means you got control and you got the vision that they never wanted you to see or have. And right now, me and my nigga Low, we got tunnel vision. We got 2 albums coming out this year, man. July 12th, Damn Near Dead with Wide Awaken and Death Row. Then Hostile Environment with our company, The Payroll Entertainment. We got plenty artists that's following behind that we grooming and working with, that's listening, not being hard-headed. You know, everybody got loose cannons. We ain't tripping off the loose cannon. They can run out there and see that lead and walls is real. Or they can walk through the door with us that's built of steel, that we already picked the locks in and left the motherfucker wide open. All you got to do is put your motherfucking shoes on and come in and present yourself the right way to the world. You know what I mean? There's a lot of shit going on, a lot of rappers rapping right now, a lot didn't happen in our careers that, you know, the average motherfucker would have said, fuck this rap shit, man, fuck this game, fuck this shit. It's not a game. That's what niggas got fucked up at when they call it the rap game. It's a game to them. This shit is business, life, and passion, and the way we live to us. Because all we doing is bringing our ghetto stories that we grew up with, that's true stories, and giving them to you so that maybe you don't got to go through what we went through. You know, like the wise man's told us when we was younger, had I listened, some of the things and stumbles I stumbled, I wouldn't have stumbled if had I listened, because they told me the stumbles I was going to make, but I ignored it. Even with the rap industry and the music industry as a whole, you know, they looking for what they looking for. They not looking for us. They not looking for ghetto talent coming out blowing up. They know now that niggas found the way to get out and feed their families and become millionaires, shit, overnight.
And move right next door to them.
And move right next door to them, banging our loud music, smoking our weed, and doing what we want to do. You know what I mean? Living our lives, not involved in bothering their lives. So, you know, at the end of the day, man, I'm just saying, man, OFTB, man, we always being real. If you can walk in the hood right now, you can come to Watts or any Grape Street, Nickerson Garden, PJs, Haciendas, and I guarantee you, it's some niggas in each one of them gonna say, man, I just seen that nigga, or I just seen Flip, I just seen Low. Man, OFTB was up there. OFTB was up there. OFTB ain't never had no fear to be nowhere to represent our people as a whole. Yeah, we have our flaws. We come from where we come from. Red is my thing. It's been there since the beginning of my career of what I do. It's not because I do it to brand myself and stand this big Flip the blood. It's just that this is what I wear. And I wear blue, I wear green. I just don't wear pink or none of that shit. You know what I mean? But just to keep it real though, man, we the realest niggas, man. And This album we're about to give y'all, man, it's, you know, it's unbarred, it's uncut. We ain't got no cut on our shit. You go party to it, you go cry to it, you go sing to it, you go tell a friend about it. You know what I mean? Because our music is real music. You ain't got to put on a beat that you heard before and think these words really finna be said, but another nigga saying some different word. When you put on our beat, you gonna know it's OFTB.
That's real right there, Flip. And that's what needs to be exposed right now. We tired of this bullshit talk, man. We need some real talk out there. So we the niggas gonna be doing the real talking out there. And I wanna say happy birthday to Tupac. You know, I don't know how many of y'all know June 16th was his 40th birthday, and that was our true homeboy. I want to say happy birthday to that dude, man. And I know you up in heaven, man, with Marvin Gaye and all them chilling like you rapped about him, because you was the realest. And my nigga Nate Dogg, rest in peace, and all our homies and all that that's up there with y'all, resting in peace. But right here, right now, we still down here in the struggle. Me and Flip still handling this shit. We still got our shit threw up and ready, and we throwing blows like a motherfucker. We cracking them, and we ain't never stopped. We hitting it with hot ones. Whatever it's gonna take to get there, we kicking down the door. So whoever trying to stop us, just get in the fucking way. That's all you gotta do. And you'll see what's gonna happen till you flatline, motherfucker. Cause OFTB is coming. Nobody ain't finna stop this. The payroll is coming. We own our own shit now. We in control. Ain't nobody stopping nothing. We ain't locked into no contracts. And we bringing a gang of motherfuckers with us. Nigga, y'all thought the niggas wasn't gonna never get in the door. We letting them in. They coming. They coming with us. So if y'all don't want to see them in, go ahead and try to put the roadblock up. They coming anyway, man. It's just inevitable. It can't be stopped, man. It was written. It was written that we was getting in. We getting in. So all you haters out there trying to stop it, man, go on, keep on doing what you're doing. We gonna keep on doing what we doing. And I'll see you at the top, which is gonna be at the same level as the bottom, because we is the motherfucking bottom.
So when do you even have time to think about movie concepts for TMH Films?
Well, TMH Films, I actually have 3 or 4 different film concepts in the works right now, and it's in line with Unbrainwashable Productions. So it's more on touching on the Illuminati. It's touching on the New World Order. It's going toward that kind of stuff. It's that real deep, dark shit, that I'm not putting with disaster films, or I'm not putting as a part of disaster area music, you know what I mean? That's under Unbrainwashable Production. You see, that's where that's strictly getting deep into what's going on, making people aware of martial law and getting deep into some things that's really going on. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this interview shall be continued at a later date. Kayla?
Peace.
Vietnam. The United States' official declaration of war on North Vietnam in 1964 came after an alleged incident involving 2 U.S. destroyers being attacked by North Vietnamese PT boats in the Gulf of Tonkin. This was known as the Gulf of Tonkin Incident. This single situation was the catalytic pretext for massive troop deployment and full-fledged warfare. One problem, however: the attack on the U.S. destroyers by Vietnamese PT boats never happened. It was a completely staged event to have an excuse to enter the war. Former Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara stated years later that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was a mistake, while many other insiders and officers have come forward, relaying that it was a contrived farce, a complete lie. Once in the war, it was business as usual. In October 1966, President Lyndon Johnson lifted trading restrictions on the Soviet bloc, knowing full well that the Soviets were providing upwards of 80% of North Vietnam's war supplies. Consequently, Rockefeller interests financed factories in the Soviet Union, which the Soviets used to manufacture military equipment and send it to North Vietnam. However, the funding of both sides of this conflict was only one side of the coin. In 1985, Vietnam's rules of engagement were declassified. This detailed what American troops were and were not allowed to do in the war. It included absurdities like North Vietnamese anti-aircraft missile systems could not be bombed until they were known to be fully operational. No enemy could be pursued once they crossed the border of Laos or Cambodia. And most revealing of all, the most critical strategic targets were not allowed to be attacked unless initiated by high military officials. Apart from these imposed ludicrous limitations, North Vietnam was informed of these restrictions and therefore could base entire strategies around the limitations of the American forces. This is why the war went on so long. And the bottom line is this: the Vietnam War was never meant to be won, just sustained. This war for profit resulted in 58,000 American deaths and 3 million dead Vietnamese. So, where are we now? September 11th was the jumpstart for what is now an accelerated agenda by the ruthless elite. It was a staged war pretext no different than the sinking of the Lusitania, the provoking of Pearl Harbor, and the Gulf of Tonkin lie. In fact, if 9/11 wasn't a planned war pretext, it would be an exception to the rule. It has been used to launch 2 unprovoked illegal wars, one against Iraq and one against Afghanistan. However, 9/11 was a pretext for another war as well, the war against you. The Patriot Act, Homeland Security, the Military Tribunals Act, and other legislations are all completely and entirely designed to destroy your civil liberties and limit your ability to fight back against what is coming.
September 11th, 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 September 11th. September 11th.
September 11th.
September the 11th. September the 11th. Evil killers, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden. War and danger. Weapons of mass destruction. Terror. Terrorism. 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 Global terrorism. Global terrorism. World terrorism. Global terrorism. Global terrorism. Global terrorism. Global terrorism, the terrorists, 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 the evil terrorists.
Terrorism. The words are hypnotically repeated. Terrorism, terrorist, terrorist threat, and of course, believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda. But it's the so-called war on terrorism that's in our faces practically 24/7 as the inescapable focus of our existence.
One day, our grandchildren will look back on this time and ask, how was the war on terror won?
The entire U.S. ruling class, ruling elite, comes to see terrorism as the preferred means, indeed the only means, to provide social cohesion, to provide an enemy image for the society to keep it together. According to neocon theory from Carl Schmitt, you have to have an enemy image in order to have a society. A very dangerous thing, because now it means that the entire social order, the political parties, intellectual life, politics in general, all based on a monstrous myth. Monstrous myth.
Than anything else, you know, you go into the whole, cause I mean, you ask me questions, I ask you questions, you know, because I definitely got to get into, oh, that's lovely, got my fingers at you.
Yeah. The first thing I wanted to say is like, the INGLE WOOD.
The Inglewood Anthem. The Inglewood Anthem, man. You know?
This is like, that's where, you know what? It's a lot of things started from there for me, you know what I mean? It's a lot of things that happened to me in Inglewood to where it made me more of a, you know, conscious warrior, you know what I mean, from niggas. I mean, I don't know if you knew about the shit that happened to me when them Jamaicans tried to rob me out there for my little, you know what I mean, my little shit. And,
is that when you got stabbed in the neck? Yeah, I heard about that shit, man.
That shit was crazy though, but, you know, I mean, I'm like this, you know what I mean, I always been the giving type. You know what I mean? If you ask me for it, you got it. You know, if I got it, you got it. You know what I mean? And these motherfuckers will try to take it from me. Shit, you know, I don't take that lightly. You know what I mean? And I ain't gonna lie, for the first 2 minutes of the robbery, I was like, damn, panicking and shit. Like, oh, damn, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they got the little upper thing of, they only stabbed me because I resisted. But see, the resistance came from up here. You know what I mean? Because at first, when they came with them guns and shit, you know, they was all at their mercy, like, hey, you know, take what you want, you know what I mean? But once I knew that they was after my stash, they was trying to come home and invade a nigga. Mm-hmm. And y'all niggas is silly enough to believe what I was saying to them. Oh, wait a minute. I can't have this. I work hard for this. You know how long it took me to get where I am? I ain't gonna let y'all just take it from me like that. So, you know what I mean? I decisively let them play themselves out.
You know, because it's easy to pull out heat and dump. It's the repercussions that's hard to deal with.
Exactly.
It's the cause and the effect.
Exactly.
For every effect, it was a cause. Something caused that effect. Mm-hmm. So you dumped them out, got all them fools. Mm-hmm. You probably still locked up.
Absolutely locked up right about it. You know
right.
I mean?
So every experience you done felt and had out here, every blessing, everything God's given you out here, it would have been a whole different lesson and experience in there.
Oh,
and
yeah, it sure would have.
You know, and you're able to maintain.
Because from the experiences I had in there, because you know, nigga been, you know, since what, it's been like 17 years old. I've been trying to like, damn, figure this shit out. After that Circuit City job, I hopped into the dope game because I did some foolish shit on the job. Stealing shit, you know what I mean? Hey, we all gonna take some shit that we think we need to get, you know what I mean, to keep us up on ball, you know what I mean? Because the life of a player, a baller, or anybody out there that's trying to impress a female, a lot of shit that we ain't even conscious of what we doing, just to try to come up in this world. You know what I mean? But you know, it took me from having shit to having more shit. And then when I start seeing me having more shit, and the other people seeing me start having more shit, that's where that jealousy thing comes apart. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That took me from here to there. Now, you know, I'm learning from childhood, from what my mom taught me, what my dad taught me. You know what I mean? To being on my own, running away from home. You know what I mean? Learning the streets, because the streets is something that, you know what I mean? It's a different world out there on the streets than in the house. And when you're in your home and shit, you shielded and blocked from all the bullshit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or the real shit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The shit that's really going on.
Exactly.
And you know what I mean? Because the real shit is what people fear out there. And don't them fools out there. I mean, life had done changed, man, because from a niggas robbing niggas and shit to buying shit. You know what I mean? Having shit. Hustling your own, you know, not having to take from another person and shit to come up. You know what I mean? That's your grind and that's your motivation and shit. You know what I mean? You got a vision. We had this vision. See, this vision came to me from young, because, you know, back in Belize, we used to build our own toys. You know what I mean? Now we come to America here where we have to buy toys at the store, buy food at the store. You know what I mean? Now you have to make this money. You know? And from me, learning from others. See, because I've always been on my elders. My elders taught me a lot. You know what I mean? I done met a lot of people from then to now that done taught me different things, where I'm fucking up at. You know what I mean? Hey, you can't think like that, because if you think like that, you're gonna end up like this. You know institution or in prison, you know,
Yeah.
hospital or dead or some shit.
So them heads ups, those
Heads up, those
people
you-
looking out, you know what I'm saying, been down that road, kind of trying to give you a shortcut, but not really a shortcut, but just say, hey, you walk down that street, a dog gonna come out that yard and chase you. You don't wanna go down that street.
You wanna go down that street. You know?
Yeah, so I feel you, the elders, yeah.
The elders really gave me a heads up on a lot of things that kept me in line. You know, because I could be that hero terrorist ass motherfucker that's just out there with my gun and I'm ready to rob a motherfucker or shoot a motherfucker that's gonna say something wrong to me. And wrong is just when you perceive wrong in your mind, wrong just don't be wrong all the time.
Right,
Wrong
just
must
something
be
you
a different
agreed with
thought.
at the time.
You know what I mean? Other people be wrong, but you know you trying to steer on your righteous path. You know, because you going to church, you praying. You know what I mean? Trying to keep God in your mind and your soul. Your soul is your most important thing. You know what I mean? Do unto others like you want to be done back.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So here we are in this here set. You know what I mean? Trying to collaborate. Because great minds together have great abilities.
Okay, so tell us about when you first, hooked up with Disaster or Steve when you first met him, and as far as what you're saying on collaborating now, with the past experiences of things going on, what you're learning, what you this and that, and then going into a different venture into life. You know what I'm saying? Because we used to whatever we used to. And then when you go into a different venture into life.
You know what? Meeting people was always, it was always a light, it's like a light being on. When the light turns on, you feel like you're more protected than when it's off. But the darkness has always been something about the darkness. You know what I mean? When I hooked up with my boy Disaster, man, it was just like the light turning on. You'd be able to see everything. When you're able to see everything, you'd be able to damn. The inspiration that Disaster gave me from me seeing what he was able, with his ability, showed me my ability. It made me damn, it's a part of something. You know what I mean? I always wanted to be a part of something. When I ran away from home back in the days, I was trying to be a part of something. I was trying to be something more than what my mom was trying to teach me. You know what I mean? I was trying to become a man because truthfully, my father was hidden away from me. I was stricken away from my father. You know what I mean? And that man thing was I was raised in a house of women. I had one brother, 3 sisters, and my mom, 2 sisters on mine.